Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's another episode of the LaFlare Vision podcast where we talk sports and everything of the sort. Today we're focusing on LeBron. Since, I'm gonna be honest with you, this has been a very interesting time in his career because I'm starting to see what I would deem as more of his personality come out. It is July 19th, and LeBron still has not made his decision as to where he is going to play, putting the whole NBA in disarray. All right, NBA schedule hasn't been made or finalized as far as the commissioner has just stated. It's a lot of free agents that have not decided where they want to go because obviously, they want to see what LeBron does. So it's a lot of things in limbo at the moment. And I got to be honest with you, I am one of the biggest LeBron fans, and I do not like what he is doing at this moment. I get that it is a very important decision, but I am going to be honest and say that it is interesting to see someone be, a little. I feel like I'm seeing LeBron be a little bit more selfish. I think he's being a little bit more selfish. I think he's being a little bit more, he's not really reading the room. I think that if this is any indicator as how it was to play with him or have him in your organization, when you think about the Lakers, right, the most recent team he was playing with, I'd have been ready to wipe my hands with all that. Cause man, I just gotta be honest with you, bro. Like, this is like, bro, just make a decision and get on with it. You know what I mean? Just get on with it. All of this, I'm waiting until mid-August. Like, I had heard somewhere where, earlier in the summer, he was talking about waiting until mid-August and, he wants to be celebrated and appreciated wherever he goes. LeBron, this is the problem with me, okay? This is the problem I have with that thought process. And I was just talking to my brother about it as well. And you very well deserve that. You deserve that. But your competition is only worried about winning. Why is that what you focused on? We're being appreciated and getting your flowers. You're going to get your flowers wherever you go because most likely this is where you're going to retire, okay? There's no need to drag out a decision that I'm pretty sure you already know where you want to go. And you already know where you're going. But if what you're trying to do is make this summer about you and keep the attention on where you're going because it has to be about you, bro. Come on, dog. Like, come on, bro. We love you. We love you, man. We love you, LeBron. We are huge fans of you, man. But to do it in this way is real diva-esque of you. Okay, if I could be quite frank, this is very diva-esque of him, prima donna-like, and all I'm gonna say is wherever you land, understand that the competition that you're going up against, all they care about is winning, okay? And I get it for you, you're in a different phase of your career, but these young bucks that's on in the Eastern Conference, when you look at Philly, New York, the Hawks, right? Because they just made a great trade today to really beef them up. And then you look at the Western Conference with the dogs they got in San Antonio, OKC, Minnesota, Portland. They care about winning. And I just hope, outside of getting your flowers, outside of being appreciated, because you're going to get that anyway, I really hope you choose a situation that's really going to end with you winning. You know what I mean? Like, I would personally love to see you sign in Philly, mainly because I know you're going to surpass Jordan in the amount of rings if you just sign a 2+1. Let's just say you think that you're going to play another 3 years. You're going to give yourself the best chance to win. It only comes at the sacrifice of being the main guy, okay? Obviously, you coming in there as maybe the fourth or fifth option. You're signing a veteran minimum deal, but you almost guarantee yourself a spot in the Eastern Conference Finals as well as in the finals, playing with Jaylen Brown, Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Joel Embiid. And I know he was hobbled these past few seasons, but I honestly believe that could be a match made in heaven, mainly because the workload that he no longer has to account for can be divvied up properly between LeBron and Joel Embiid. That load that he, because in all honesty, I honestly don't believe that his body can withstand being the number one option anymore. Okay? It's a sad fact of reality, but if we're looking at what these past 2 to 3 years have been for Joel Embiid, he's everything you want him to be. You just cannot have him run the ship. You cannot have him drive the boat, so to speak. Tyrese Maxey is doing a great job with that, and I like him being my franchise guy. I'm so glad they got Paul George out of there because, quite frankly, Paul George hasn't been what he's supposed to be since OKC. And, I'm glad that Philly, I hate what Boston did because they shouldn't have traded him, but I'm so glad Philly was able to put themselves in a position to strengthen their core, picking up Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown is a great pick. He is a great pick. He is a great pick. And I'm glad that he's in a situation now that I would hope, all right, I really hope that they embrace him and show him the love and respect that he was oh my goodness, he was so slighted of in Boston. Boston outright disrespected this man, did not appreciate this man, did not protect this man. And to see him go through what he went through in Boston, quite frankly, for me, I'm glad that he's out of there. Quite frankly, I'm really glad that he's gone. I'm glad that he's in a situation now, the city of brotherly love, where he can just focus on being a ball player and winning chips. Okay, because in this day and age, that's all that matters, man. That's all that matters. Being in a winning situation with a team that respects and appreciates you and wins chips. Okay, wins chips. When I listen to Wemby talk, all I hear from him is winning. Took a $50 million pay cut to put his team in the position to be able to financially stretch that savings amongst the team to bring pieces there that will contribute to winning. All right. Don't get me wrong. Everybody got to get their cheddar. Everybody got to get their cheese. I'm not against that. Okay. But furthermore, the most important thing, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, it got to be winning. It got to be winning. It makes for great TV. It makes for great TV. It makes for great fans and organizations. It just makes everything better when the team can obviously see is focused on winning. And then it has been a lot of teams this year who, quite frankly, they're not. They're not. So, I look forward to seeing what Philly does. I look forward to seeing, I really want them to get LeBron. I'm going to be honest with you. I am speaking very selfishly myself, okay? All right, I was just getting on LeBron about it. I'm being selfish too. LeBron, I want to see you go to Philly. I want to see him go to Philly, the city of brotherly love, be humble, take a back seat to these 3 future Hall of Famers, and win a plethora of chips. He could play another 3 to 5 years on that veteran minimum, doing everything that he's been doing, and still contribute effectively to winning and really win. If he goes to Golden State, if he goes to Cleveland, if he goes to, Minnesota would be nice, but, Minnesota probably would be the team equivalent in the West that I think would be just as impactful as him signing with Philly in the East. I think that puts them in a really good position to win, but I just don't know, man. I think, in my humble opinion, I think LeBron ends up either in Cleveland, because if he wants all of the appreciation, respect, and the flowers, as well as, let's be honest, he wants a little bit of control, okay? I think this whole little, thing that he's doing now with, delaying who he's signing with, I think it's a testament to his control freakism, which is cool. He's earned that right, so I ain't knocking it, but if he wants that level of control and does not want to take a level of a backseat, I don't know how much money they have to offer, but I think Cleveland would be the right fit. I'm intrigued to see who could offer him the most money, though. Even with Miami, I think that's a veteran minimum location too, but it's Miami, I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know, but I think what better way to conclude your career than as a winner? I think Philly checks all those boxes, man. Outside of the financial, But moving on, Lou Dort was just traded to Atlanta, and quite frankly, that's a great pickup for ATL, man. That is a great pickup for ATL. ATL is solid. You know what I mean? If I could be honest, ATL is all the more solid, and that's scary. They killed. I know they got rid of Kaminga. They didn't pick up the option on Kaminga. I know they still sorting that out. CJ McCollum, got Jalen Johnson. Congo fits good in there, man. Lou Dort fits good in there. I like that pick for ATL. I like that pick for ATL. He's a great defender. He's a great 3-and-D guy, man. I think he is the prototype of what a 3-and-D guy should be in today's NBA. If he could just become just a little bit more consistent, I would like to see him closer to 40% on that from the 3-point line. If he can get into that 38, 39 range as far as 3-point makes goes, 3-point field goal percentage goes, I think that really bolsters Atlanta's chances. And I think he's in a good situation that wants that from him. I think there's a lot of chefs in the kitchen with OKC this past season, so I kind of saw something like this happening. I know they traded Isaiah Joe. There's another guy. I know the guy with the braids. They traded him as well. And now Luke Dort. I knew that was gonna happen. They just had too much. They had too much talent. If I'm gonna be honest, they had way too much talent, man. And I know that talent knew how good they were. So, I didn't expect them to take any more pay cuts. They're all champions. I think once people get their ring, and I can respect that too. Once you get your ring, you've checked that box. Now you want to get your cheddar, so I get that, so more power to Lou Dort, more power to OKC, because now I see Jared McCain is going to fit very nicely into that starting lineup. I like to see how he fares. I think he's a bit of a better scorer, playmaker all around than Lou Dort. And he was fairly healthy this past year. I think coming off of that injury he had back in Philly. I like to see him and how he plays here with OKC. I would just like to see a healthy year from OKC. If J-Dub can stay healthy, style was good. I'd like to see them and how they fare, with a full healthier year. Now that the team has kind of been rebalanced as far as who their main guys are now. I think with them trading Lou Dort and promoting Jared McCain, as it seems, you've got your nucleus with SGA, Chet, and J-Dub, and you've got your nice accessory pieces around. And, I like to see how that goes. I'd like to see how that goes for them this year. So that's cool. Concluding for me, man, I just want to see these free agents get their just due. I really hope somebody picks up Cam Johnson. He's a great scorer, man. 22 points a game off the bench. Kaminga, another guy. These guys contribute to winning. I just don't always, whenever I see guys like Kaminga or Cam Johnson still is free agents or not getting what they want financially, I do wonder what it is. You know what I mean? I just wonder what it is and what is it about them? Because you see Gary Trent sign, and I hate the pocket watch. We pocket watching a little bit, All right, we're pocket watching. This is a slight tad. But if Gary Trent can sign him 4 years, guaranteed $64 million, I don't see why the market cannot reward Jonathan Kaminga for $25 million a year. I don't see why. I don't see why Cam Johnson can't get what he feels he deserves with the evidence on their resume, the recent evidence. Wherever he's went, these two teams that Cam Johnson played for, he was a definite scorer, a definitive scorer. Kaminga, he produced in that series with the Knicks this past playoff. He produced for the Warriors. I don't know if it's the fact that they're confident. I don't know if it's the fact that it just has to be something else that is keeping the NBA from rewarding those kind of guys. Even Quentin Grimes last season, he was another guy that doubled down on himself. Went out and performed again for Philly this season. And, granted, he got traded to LA, and I know they're going to treat him right. Now, I believe he signed with LA, and I know that's a good situation for Quentin, but I just wonder what it is. What is it that keeps these guys as free agents for as long as they are? But I got my fingers crossed for Jonathan Kaminga and Cam Johnson specifically. I really hope they get their just due out of this market, but yeah. That concludes today's show. I just wanted to come and chat with you guys for a little bit, man. If y'all like the comment, like the content, or got any other things that y'all want me to touch on, man, please comment, like, subscribe. We're going to try to get back to doing these on a more consistent basis. But yeah, man, I thank you guys for being here, man. Y'all take it easy.